Spain was always on my bucket list. Not the postcard version, not just the beaches and tapas, but Spain. As a place where decisions were made, the kind of decisions that travel, the kind that cross oceans. Last year, my wife and I visited Spain twice for two different reasons. The first time, in March, we stayed in Madrid, 3 days. And even then, Madrid was too big to truly wander. The Royal Palace, Mercado San Miguel, those were non-negotiable. Madrid is power. Madrid is scale. Madrid is the capital you visit. But the second trip was different. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Chronicles and Cocktails. I'm Josué, the spirited historian, and today we're going to be talking about our trip to Spain. We took 2 trips last year, but this last trip, a historical and genealogical mission and an adventure. So, let's see what we find out in the connection of Valladolid and Tordesillas with Puerto Rico. The second time, we visited on a genealogical adventure, one that deserves its own episode very soon, and it will. My wife and I are tracing her ancestors inside Puerto Rico and beyond it. From the airport in Madrid, we rented a car and drove north toward Galicia, where the investigation into her great-grandfather would continue. But on the way to A Coruña, I had to make a stop. And we stopped in Valladolid, just for one night. Less than 24 hours to discover, to investigate the history behind the Spanish crown and the places where decisions were made that changed the world. But sometimes 24 hours, if you know what you're doing, if you know what you're looking for, 24 hours is enough. You see, Valladolid was the center of power. Not symbolically, literally. This was where decisions were made that would affect the entire world. 4 or 5 centuries ago, Valladolid was the place where the world was governed on paper, sort of like a big capital of the world. This was the center of the Spanish crown. The same empire that grew and it just went over its natural borders into the ocean. Valladolid was where empires were imagined, managed, and justified. And what was called then the New World, including the island of San Juan Bautista, today Puerto Rico, was part of that vision. Todo cambió. La historia de Puerto Rico y del Nuevo Mundo que descubrió Colón cambió para siempre. So yes, if you want to understand Puerto Rico, not just as a Caribbean island, but as a historical project, you have to visit Valladolid. And today, we're connecting Puerto Rico a Valladolid. Esa conexión que hay desde antes, from way before Colón arrived in the Caribbean. And I'm not gonna do this as a victim or nostalgia or el ay bendito. This connection is through cause and effect, the facts. And I visited Valladolid for this. We stayed at Hotel Plaza Colón, right in front of Campo Grande Park, a massive green space in the heart of the city. And right there, the monument to Cristobal Colón. Now, I know opinions vary. In reality, I like the dude. This was the second monument to Colón I'd seen in Spain. The first one was in Madrid. And standing here, I couldn't ignore the symbolism. Because whether we like him or not, the world Puerto Rico entered was shaped by the consequences of his voyage. Colón didn't just sail west, he triggered a system, and Valladolid was one of the places where that system took form. We visited el Palacio de los Viveros, the very same place where the Catholic monarchs got secretly married in. I mean, we were right there. The same hall, the same door. Fernando de Aragón, Isabel de Castilla. These were the Catholic monarchs. The two people that changed the world. The marriage of Fernando and Isabel mattered. It unified two crowns, Castilla, Aragon. It unified ambition, and it made overseas expansion possible. Today, that building houses the Archivo Histórico Provincial, which feels appropriate, because this is where history was not just lived, it was stored, organized, and enforced. Puerto Rico didn't become Spanish by accident. It became Spanish because structures like this existed. And in Valladolid, la casa donde murió Colón. Yes, we had to visit. I had to visit. I had to see it. The house where Colón died. There is something poetic about that. Cristobal Colón's journey ends in Valladolid, just as the consequences of his journey are accelerating. By the time Puerto Rico enters the historical record, the machinery is already running. The island didn't just step into history fresh, it stepped into a world already designed. So the night that we stayed in Valladolid, we had one of the best gin and tonics we've ever had before. It was in this little bar just a few steps away from the cathedral. It was called El Farolito, and it was really good. And they served it with Nordes gin, and Nordes gin is from Galicia. That mattered because thousands of Puerto Ricans actually descend from people from Galicia. So today's cocktail, it's inspired by that one. So we're gonna use the Halda, representing Puerto Rico, and one of my favorite gins, which is the Fever Tree. We're just gonna mix it in with a little bit of lemon. So this is the cocktail we're gonna be having throughout the episode. Salud. Very nice. We walked through the Plaza Mayor of Valladolid. If you're Puerto Rican, this feels familiar, even if you've never been here before. Plaza, church, government nearby. That wasn't coincidence, that was policy. And from there, plazas were planned into the cities and towns of Hispanic America. That's why town centers in the Caribbean, in South America, and even in the west of the United States have the church, the plaza, and at some point or another, the cabildo. We attended Mass at the Cathedral of Santa María de la Asunción, and faith here isn't decorative, it's structural. Catholicism didn't arrive in Puerto Rico improvising. It arrived fully formed, with doctrine, architecture, hierarchy, and authority. That worldview was born here. We drank beer at Café El Bar Otero, across from Santa Maria Magdalena. And mostly, we walked, we looked, we tasted, we ate, we drank. Because empires aren't built only in places, they're built by people. The next morning, we drove from Valladolid to Tordesillas. And as we were approaching Valladolid from Madrid and now Tordesillas from Valladolid, we noticed the sunflower fields. Girasoles en todas partes. Sunflower fields stretching to the horizon. Peaceful, deceptive. Because in Tordesillas, the world was divided. We stood in front of the Museo del Tratado de Tordesillas, a small place tied to a massive idea. This is where Spain and Portugal divided the world for them. One side for Spain, the other one for Portugal. And we visited the monastery de Santa Clara. This is the building. This is the place where the rightful queen, Juana I de Castilla, better known as Juana la Loca, was imprisoned by her father, then by her husband, then by her son. The statue, it's right there, and I had to go. I had to visit. I had to take pictures of me with Juana la Loca. She's one of my favorite. Ella es uno de mis personajes favoritos de toda la historia. And I'm reading this book by Manuel Fernández Álvarez. We just walked around Tordesillas. The whole town looks like pictures of a history book. We couldn't get enough. We sat down at the Plaza Mayor. We had a little lunch. We had some beers.
De aquí es que entonces me surge esta vaina.
Literal.
We walked around some more. We heard music. There was celebration. We got into the festivities. We had ice cream at the Heladeria Boanza because history doesn't cancel life, it contains it. And Juana's story reminds us power always has a human cost. Her son was ruling when Puerto Rico entered the Spanish system. This isn't trivia, it's lineage. Okay, so what's the connection here? What is Josué trying to tell us? What does this mean for Puerto Rico? Well, simply put, it means that Puerto Rico as we know it was made possible only because of what happened here. The marriage, the treaties, the laws, the language, the faith, and yes, the bureaucracy. These are the things that centuries later, after 1898, we started defending. We were protecting el español. We were protecting family. We were protecting our religious beliefs. We were even protecting the Treaty of 1897, which was La Carta Autonómica. We were part of Spain. Puerto Rico did not start in the Caribbean. It started in rooms like this, in towns like this. Before Boriquen became Puerto Rico, it existed as an idea, and that idea was Castilian. We had less than 24 hours in Valladolid and less than 6 hours in Tordesillas. To me, it was endless. We ate, we drank, we read, we discovered, we walked, we relived history, and we're going again very soon. 24 hours was enough to understand something important. Puerto Rico as we know it today was not inevitable. It was the result of decisions made here in Castilla long before the first Spaniard saw the island. This wasn't just a stop on a road trip. It was a visit to Puerto Rico's prehistory. What do you think? Comment below. Give it a like, share it, and of course, you gotta subscribe. And with this, have a great Sunday. Have fun today. Read, get smart, research, go to church, and salud.